Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Fish Stripes Live, presented by Loop, L-O-U-P-E. I'm your host tonight, Daniel, and joined me, we have Alex Carver, Eli Sussman. We will have Isaac Azut joining us in just a bit. Kevin Barlat not join us as he is recovering from surgery, and we have Noah Berger at the Nationals game today. And we are joined by two guests. First, from Fish on the Farm podcast with Alex Carver, we have Daniel DeVivo. And we have longtime Marlins fan, Nick Schemoncini. Guys, it's great to have you guys on tonight. How you guys feeling?
Awesome, man. Everything's perfect. I love being here. Watch you guys regularly and do a great job. So I hope this one's the same.
Yeah, no, it feels great to be here. Glad to be on here with you guys. I've been following this podcast for a while now, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Awesome. It's great to have you guys. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was the recent news going on in the managerial circle. With division rival Joe Girardi, and now a couple hours ago, Joe Madden being relieved of his duties as the manager for the Angels. And, with everything going on with Donnie, and especially the meeting that lasted close to 2 hours today, just what do you guys think about managers getting relieved early in their duties, especially even before the All-Star break? And I guess we'll start with Eli.
Well, I love the contrast in Twitter styles. These are the tweets that the Phillies put out and the Angels put out. The Phillies put out this whole essay. They put the entire press release in there for everybody to read, whereas the Angels kept it really simple because theirs was really self-explanatory, right? The Angels had the longest losing streak that we've seen in baseball this entire season, whereas the Phillies had just been in this really season-long drudgery where they're not awful, but they were underperforming enough that I think a lot of people understood why they went in that direction. It's different situations for the Marlins. I mean, people might not like to hear that, but these are teams, Phillies spending 3 times as much on their payroll, the Angels spending 2.5 times as much, the Phillies having the reigning MVP in the National League, the Angels having probably the reigning AL MVP, as well as Mike Trout. He's not bad. Like in terms of the individual star power and how much they invested in the surrounding cast, all that stuff, the state of their farm systems as well. Like there's urgency for them to win now. And that's why, even though this is early in the year, and a discussion we've had in previous episodes about how there are not very many mid-season firings in baseball anymore. Like teams don't do this unless they're really disappointing. And then this speaks to like how extreme these situations were that they went in this direction. It's a lot of good content though. And there are differences clearly between them and the Marlins, but some common threads as well, because I think anybody would agree that the Marlins have been underperforming as well relative to even the most mild expectations that people had.
Yeah. And then earlier today, Donnie, there was just a player-wide coaches meeting and media wasn't allowed there. And I believe Craig Mish had a quote about the Marlins saying that he would not be surprised if the team came out flat tonight, which I thought was pretty surprising. He's saying the team come out flat. I think Donnie's already lost the season. I think he might be already over it, especially when you come out with a quote like that. So, Isaac, you just came in. Just what do you think about everything Donnie's been doing, and that especially that meeting that lasted close to 2 hours? And it just seemed like Donnie said everyone had a voice in that meeting.
Yeah, I'm just sort of catching up at the moment. I just came back from a road trip, so I'm just sort of catching up as much as I can. I was happy to see initially that they did have a team meeting. I'm glad that they're not okay with this, with the way that they've been performing. I think 8 games under 500 getting into June is not where they wanted to be coming into the season. I'm confused about this quote. I guess Mattingly said he would be surprised if they came out flat tonight. It's a weird thing to say. I'm not really up to date on everything that did go down. And I mean, I'm sure Noah would be better equipped to answer those questions, but it's going to be back. And I guess some positive stuff would be the pitching matchups tonight, but we'll get into that later.
That's white flag throwing, Daniel. Honestly, I mean, okay. So you as the manager call the meeting. You meet for 2 hours. You're like, yeah, everybody had a chance to talk. Everybody said what they wanted to say. That's all great. Good. Awesome. Like that shit needs to happen. That needs to happen when the team's going bad and stuff's going on. You got 28 guys in that room. They all have their own mind, right? So let them speak their mind. That's great. That's fine. I'm sure they're all fed up with losing too. I doubt anyone in that clubhouse is happy with the way that the team is playing as a whole. But then you put your cherry on top, and the way that you end your interview is saying, yeah, don't be surprised if they suck tonight. Like what? Like how is that the way that you end that? That's really bad. I don't understand that. Really, really awkward way to end that. I mean, if you would just ended by saying, yeah, we're all in a better place now and we're ready to go and we're gonna, we have the Nationals, so this is a good spot for us. Any other way to end that interview other than that would have been respectable, but he ends it in the worst way possible, a really awkward way to end it. So
okay, good.
I was confused for sure. So I don't know.
Something interesting. I mean, yeah, it's a horrible way to end it, but the part that caught me as well was said things had to get out in the open, and it was not a raw meeting. So it sounds like it's not just, hey, we need to, get together here. We need to be better, blah, 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 rah. It sounds like there's some internal issues going on there. I don't know if problems between players or players and coaches. I'm not sure what's going on, but it doesn't sound like this is just a, hey, we need to be better type of meeting.
So the thing to question is he losing the clubhouse? And if he's losing the clubhouse, then you have a real problem. And then you can really look at, for different reasons, like Eli said, you can't lose your clubhouse in the middle of the season. And if you do, you got to go. So it sucks to say that. I love Donnie. He's a great guy. But with the way that he said that and the way that this apparently all went from what we've heard, I don't like it. And I don't like the sound of that. So if he's losing the clubhouse, then yes, I would say before the end of the season, he's got to be gone.
And now that I'm comprehending, like really fully understanding, okay, wow, that's a really weird quote, given the fact that Joe Girardi, Joe Madden have also been, relieved of their duties, given the fact that this is also a team that did say publicly they did want to compete this year and things are going, below expectations. And we're questioning it over to Eli. I think we were both like at 0% that he would be let go. Is that still at 0% in the middle of the season? What percentage are you at now? Just curious.
Still very low. I still think 12.
Oh, I was going to say 10. Okay.
Yeah, at most. Yeah. And what Ricardo is mentioning here is how Craig spoke to Sandy Alcantara just now on the field. And Sandy said that the players are not always going to get along, quote. A similar meeting that he had when he was younger and in the minors with the Cardinals. And in Mish's opinion, there is some sort of internal dispute among the players, which I think would not surprise people. That it just doesn't seem like the vibes are what they should be right now. You don't see it all that much on the field at all, but it could just be frustration boiling over the fact that they're losing so many close games. I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint any individual cases of that happening.
As a last for me on this, if that is the case, that it's a problem between the players, it's your job as a manager to get a control of it. No, I'm not going to pin it all on Donnie either. It's, if stuff happens between players, these are grown men. But you're the manager, get control of it. That's his job. That's part of his job as being the manager.
And that's why he called a meeting.
Right. But then he fuels it by saying, yeah, they're going to suck tonight. So it's weird.
I think people are reading way too much into that. Again, it doesn't fill me with confidence. The fact that he said that they might come out flat tonight.
He shouldn't be saying that.
The fact that whether or not he should say it doesn't matter. The fact is he said it, and there's not really much you can do about that. The fact of the matter is, something happened. The team had a meeting about it. Hopefully they figured out whatever the issue was, and they're going to play baseball. They missed batting practice today, which concerns me. That meeting took long enough that they missed batting practice completely. They had their stretches and everything, but nobody was talking to anybody out on the field. The players were talking to each other, but nobody would talk. Nobody would stop for any sort of questioning about it. It's
They were probably sold
it
off.
doesn't. Yeah, the vibe is not good right now. That's all I can say.
I guess it kind of makes sense on why he said that they come out a little flat tonight. But then again, in that report, I'm not confident when your manager is saying that, especially.
I love the Vivo shirt. It's the best,
Yes.
best shirt ever.
Come on, man.
Love it. Leclerc, let's go.
Good
Isaac, I own you.
Oh, you made my headphones sweaty.
No, what I was saying, I don't like that the manager's saying they're gonna be flat tonight. I think it was a good idea to have the meeting today. Obviously, there's some internal problems with the club. The players is obviously just something going on in the clubhouse, and I mean the meeting was in the right place, but you're 8 games under. This is like a series against Washington where you need to turn it around. This should be a series where you should potentially get a sweep, and having a meeting like this right before the series, I don't know if Donnie thought it was a good idea to maybe get him on track with this, but I mean, by the way it's looking right now, it doesn't look good. We just got to be optimistic with Edward Cabrera pitching tonight. Hopefully he can get us going because he was very electric last game, but no, it's not looking good. I mean, hopefully he turned around, especially with the series coming up.
That was such a weird quote. Like I'm with Alex on this. To say that your team, don't be surprised if they come out flat tonight. That is so weird for your manager to say that about your team. I've never. That's why I was like so confused when I first got on the stream. I was like, what? I was very confused. I think Noah was downplaying it. A 90-minute
by the
meeting.
way, I'm not trying to downplay it. I think he was being honest there. Like that. I think you caught him in a moment of honesty there. Like he pretty much feels like this team's going to come out flat. This wasn't good.
Well, then the
what's
goal
going on is
was
not good.
accomplished. It was a 90-minute meeting. You're coming out without your quote, then either nothing was accomplished.
What's he supposed to do if the players are?
We got it all figured out, and we're gonna go kick some ass.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to say.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
kind of
he
hard to
needs to
do
lie,
if
man.
there's
It's
an
like
issue.
It's like a doctor.
It's not going to be solved in one meeting.
No, that's his
You
job.
have to tell the public.
His job.
I get it. It's
is
his
to-
job. I
Okay.
get it. It's his job, but it's harder than it sounds.
Sure, it's definitely, and that's why he's been here for 5 years, and that's why he was the manager before this. Is because as a manager, as the leader of the club, you need to be able to reunite this team, even if they're having issues, and say, "Hey guys, forget about your shit. Let's go out and play a baseball game." And if you're coming out and saying, instead of saying that, you say, "Oh yeah, they're going to suck tonight." That's horrible. That's a horrible way to manage. That's a horrible way. It's something horrible to say publicly to the media. Like even if you think that, you can't say that. So that was bad. I'm not reading too much into it. It's a problem. And like I said, if he's losing control of the clubhouse, it's a major, major problem.
Go ahead.
It's a tough situation. Honestly, when you have something like that, especially when you're going up against the Nationals, who are at the bottom of the league, one of the worst teams in baseball, and then to say don't expect them to come out flat against
that team.
Yeah, I can, if you're going up against, the Dodgers or even the Mets, like, okay, yeah, but the Nationals, don't expect them to play good against the worst team in baseball. That's I don't know. I have no idea. But let's pass that. I wanted to go back and talk about the Giants series, but especially 2 performances that really stood out to me. Obviously, Cy Young, Sandy, and then Pablo Lopez. Just what did you guys think about that series and coming off a split with the Giants? Is that a positive? Is it a negative?
If you can still like bet something against the Marlins, no, it's here, so
Yes.
Can I go one stream up here without getting bombarded?
By the way, if you haven't noticed, Joe Otto, his record is 1-9. That's not his record, so he's pretty much pitching tonight.
That's actually clever.
Yeah, Noah, you're the John the Don of fish stripes.
1-9, and the team's coming out flat tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my
what
God.
I will say about Pablo is this is now the second time in recent weeks where I've gone through the same experience where he looks shaky in the early innings and allows a few runs, and I hear people saying regression, and then he ends up going. Did he go 7 innings? Yeah, 7 innings and make it all respectable. I think as we get deeper into the season, it's more and more apparent that he is better than ever. He's not perfect. He's not Sandy. I still think there's a pretty big gap there. But even in a game that he didn't pitch that great, I was impressed with how he got it all together, where he was able to recover, I should say, from having some limitations and having not his best stuff in a particular game. That's my bottom line with him. I don't know what his numbers look like by the end of the year. I don't think they look quite as good as they do now. And there's some interesting, I've brought this up before about my tangent about how much rest he gets in between starts. And we're going into a stretch where the Marlins get like no off days for the next 6 weeks. So he's going to be pitching on regular rest. I feel like moving forward, this is going to be the biggest test yet of exactly how good he is. But those two guys continue to be the brightest of bright spots on this team, Sandy and Pablo. The problem is they only pitch 40% of the games. So you can win all their starts and the team would still suck. If you
Do we happen to know who are the
games.
pitching matchups for that Astro series really quick? Because I think that's going to be really telling for whoever's starting for that matchup. That's going to be a really interesting series against one of the best teams.
Well, Pablo is in that series. Pablo's not in this one, so he's going to be in that one. It's Pablo. It's going to be Braxton Garrett again. Oof. And it's going to be Edward Cabrera, we would think, in the final game of that because he's pitching tonight, if you want to look that far ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting about that matchup. But what did you guys think about Sandy going up against the Giants and just him proving himself? And is he the favorite now to be this NL Cy Young? We'll start with Nick.
Oh, absolutely. Sandy was electric that outing against San Francisco. I mean, like he's proven then again, every start that he goes out there, eats a ton of innings. Pitch count was at 115 pitches that last outing. Incredible. I think he's second in the NL in ERA behind Joe Musgrove, but the way he's pitching is he goes 7 to 8 innings. You get 7 or 8 solid innings out of him every start. 8 strikeouts, I think he had last game. I mean, he's good for 120, 125 pitches at most. You can leave that guy out there for the entire game. And when he's off, he'll still battle, just like kind of Pablo Lopez does. That was a crucial start for us too that night. I'm pretty sure we had our first walk-off of the season against San Francisco as well. But no, he was absolutely electric. I mean, his stuff is just so nasty. I think if I had to pick the Cy Young, I think Sandy Alcantara is a clear Cy Young. Again, he's in Miami. We're on a losing team right now, so it's hard to give him that. But yeah, I think he's the best pitcher in the National League at the current moment. I think he keeps this up because he's only getting better from here on out. Every season, he's just getting better and better and better. And he just goes again 7, 8 innings every game. He's solid. He's just our best pitcher. He's the leader. He's the ace for the reason. So Sandy Alcantara is my favorite for Cy Young at the moment, but hopefully he can just continue this up because we got to win a ball game.
Yeah, I mean, he's an animal. I mean, in Spanish, we just say caballo, horse. Yep. He is a horse, man. I mean, you just know. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter if it's the Nationals or the he hasn't pitched against the Mets, but whoever, man, he's gonna give you.
Played against the Mets.
Yeah. Exactly, not the Mets. But he'll do that to the Mets too. Just wait. As long as it's not in California, West Coast over there, for whatever reason he really struggles over there. He will find a way to finish his at least 6 innings, less than 3 runs. Quality starts, automatic. And he's just a type of pitcher that you don't see anymore. He could finish games. Mattingly allows him to. He could finish games however many times he wants. And you just don't see that anymore. Pitchers don't complete games. So it's just pride to just watch him every 5 games. It's so fun.
Yeah, he is in the early running for the National League Triple Crown, the pitcher's Triple Crown, because they're actually winning games for him, which is something that is never happens in his entire career to this point. You can't say enough good things about him. You just need to pray that he stays healthy, which he always has, and you're always completely healthy until you're not. That's the reality of pitching, but he's everything they could have wanted for sure.
And for the Marlins, do you guys see them potentially having more than 2 All-Stars? Does this team have 3 All-Stars? Because I know Jazz has been somewhat of a slump as of late, but does his personality really just try to drive him into that 3rd spot, or are the 2 All-Stars just Pablo and Sandy for the Marlins?
Unfortunately, Jazz sort of, has been struggling the past couple of weeks, but it's a shame because he's the one guy in recent memory that could have been possibly voted in by the fans. I know Miami doesn't get a lot of, help from that sort of stuff, but there was a chance that Jazz really played well because the only guy he had competition with, I think, was Ozzie Albies, was the only other was going to get a vote. But I think Sandy is virtually a lock, you'd think, unless he just gives up 10 clunkers in a row leading up to July. And Pablo obviously having his ERA where it is and him being in the top 5 in ERA in the National League, I believe he still is. I think you have at least 2 right now. And if Jazz for some reason somehow has a torrid June and starts it off with tonight, a great month, it's possible. Unlikely, but possible.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 weighted runs created plus. 100 is league average. And he's been useless since he came back from the hamstring injury. It was only a couple weeks. We'll see.
Bad.
Right. There were so many people out there that have been feasting on his breakout and feeling so confident that this was the moment where he was putting it all together. I've just been a little suspect just because I watched him all of last year, where very suddenly, when he came back from that first injury, the numbers slid, and he still had a bunch of these great moments the entire second half of the year. It's just that the overall production was not good from that point onward. And so this season, he got to the same incredible start. It lasted even a little bit longer than last year as well. But there's still some limitations with him just as a hitter. He's amazing as a base runner. And I think he's even better as a fielder than he was last year. That's another real strength of his game. Like, he doesn't need to be an elite hitter in order to be an all-star caliber player. I just think he may have, again, for the second straight year, set some unrealistic expectations for where he is, or at least, the fact that he's just still young and he's not quite at that peak level yet. There's still a lot that he needs to figure out to be a consistently great hitter.
Yeah, this year it lasted a little bit longer than it did last year. Last year, he was hot in April, and that was about it. And then this year it went into mid-May, and unfortunately, he's cooled off since. Hopefully, it doesn't last all year, though.
Yeah, no, he needs to adjust. I mean, that's the word. Pitchers will adjust to him. He just needs to adjust back.
Yeah, walk rates are pretty bad for him as well. So he's swinging out a lot of bad pitches. So, yeah, he's a problem right now. Like Daniel said, it's about adjustments. So, yeah, it's his turn. So see if he can do it. I mean, he definitely has the talent to do it. Just needs to let go of the mind a little bit, get out of the head, play baseball. And I think that's always going to be a thing with this player. So great, but needs to temper the mind and admit his failures and be able to adjust back. So see if he can do it. I think he can.
Yeah, we've noticed that these shirts have not been selling very well recently. The Jazz Hands shirts are available at breakingtea.com/shirts.
The Drill Your Mama shirts are being worn by 90% of the clubhouse.
I have my own one right over here. So, yeah, no, a very popular shirt in the Drill Your Mama one.
You guys ship to Colombia, Eli?
I think so.
Yes, but specifically not to your address, apparently.
There is one more topic I want to talk about before we head into our break, and that is the best pitcher on the Marlins rotation, not named Sandy or Pablo, Eliezer Hernandez, getting optioned down to AAA. Just what are your takes on that and him, taking Donnie now up to June or end of May to finally option down Eliezer Hernandez? Just what are your thoughts? Is it too little, too late? Just what does it mean now for Miami having Eliezer down at the AAA?
First off, I don't think that Donnie has any sway. Of course, he has sway, but that's not his decision to option him down to AAA. I think it was way overdue. I think he got those 2 extra starts because what happened to Luzardo and Max Meyer. I don't think he should have. I think Braxton should have been up earlier. I think there's many other options that could have been used, but they stuck with him. And I hope he does well in AAA. But yeah, goodbye. We're done. Enough. Too many home runs.
I don't think it's the last we've seen of him in the big leagues this year. I think definitely there's a role for him, and I've tweeted this, that there's a role for him in a Major League Ball club, 100%. It's just like Noah said, it was long overdue. I thought, especially when Max was healthy and dominating the way he was, especially when Luzardo was healthy. But yeah, I don't think that's the end that we see him. I think they really like him still. I think they really believe in him for some way, shape, or form, for better or for worse. But I do. That's the one thing I'll say is that I think we see him in the second half of the year.
I agree with Isaac on that one. I think Eliezer come up. We'll probably call him up with another injury, maybe on next month, maybe. Just get him some innings down there in Jacksonville. As a long reliever role, maybe he could be a little more effective and kind of find his footing down there. But I don't think he has a role in this rotation moving forward, especially with Max Meyer rehabbing and coming back soon. I think he needs to be on a plane to Miami very soon. Once he's healthy, I want to see him pitch here. But I think Eliezer he could be a long reliever role for us. there's the injury reports right there with Brian Anderson's MRI, and Luzardo's still not throwing. We need to get Luzardo back in the rotation as well. It's another thing.
There's the Sixto update also. Throwing 75 miles per hour.
Sixto finally throwing
total body strengthening.
I feel like now is just like total like bullshit. I feel like they're just messing with us with these.
It's not even. He's not even irrelevant.
I love the Sixto updates. Yeah. They're my favorite part.
Total body strength.
What I wanted to touch on before we go to break is the Luzardo part with him and Poteet. Jordan added afterwards that Poteet also not throwing. If you're a starting pitcher and you're not even throwing at this moment, we're not going to see Luzardo until July at the very earliest if he's not throwing and if he has to build up all the way from where he was now 3.5-4 weeks ago prior to going on the IL. And so that means this goes to Eliezer is that they don't have a ton of depth even right now. If somebody gets hurt, anybody gets hurt in this rotation right now, as much as they would prefer any of these other guys over him at the moment. I agree with what Isaac said, that I think it's extremely likely that they're going to need Eliezer for bulk innings at some point later this year. And they're going to need him to be obviously better than he was to the early portion of the season.
Just to call it out on Eliezer, since Nick mentioned his role, at least I agree with you, Nick, that he should never start another game ever again for the Marlins. And I thought that for a while, but it looks like at least in AAA for the time being, he will continue to start because they need somebody to fill Edwards' spot there. And the only other guy they really have is George Soriano, who they just called back up to AAA, who is now in the bullpen. They also called up Zabala, who is another bullpen guy. So he's going to probably continue to start in AAA. But, yeah, his long-term future with the Marlins is bullpen or nothing. And I've said that for a long time. We all have. So, but for the time being, he'll continue to start with Jacksonville.
Yeah, but before we go into break, Noah, before you go, what are your predictions for this series and your series MVP?
Okay, so I'm usually very optimistic, but with what happened today, they're definitely not winning tonight. I think they get I think they do win the series. I think they do take 2 of 3. I was getting there. And I'm just going to stick with John Birdie because he's the only one that seems to know how to hit with runners in scoring position or do anything productive besides for Garrett Cooper. But yeah, John Birdie and the Marlins take 2 of 3 because I can't bring myself to say that they're going to lose a series yet. I'll get there, but not yet.
All right, you heard it from Noah. And before we get into this break, we're going to be talking about our lineups, what Miami have to do to win this series, and we'll end it off with predictions. Here is from Luke.
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
Now we get into the point of the show where we talk about the series and probably the reason why most people are here to talk about the Nationals and the Marlins. The Marlins have almost had the Nationals number this entire season, sweeping them in, I believe, Washington, and they took 2 out of 3 here in Miami, or was that also in Washington?
2 out of 3 in Miami.
Yep.
And now playing them again here in Miami. And just, Eli, do we have the lineups ready for this game?
Yes, in just a moment.
Awesome.
These underwhelming lineups for both sides.
Just out of curiosity, Daniel DeVivo, when's the next Yuri day? Because I need some positivity in my life. That's not majors.
The next Yuri day. He's normally been pitching Fridays, but I can't confirm 100%.
Okay.
But yeah,
the next time he's scheduled is Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So there's your good news, Isaac.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. So
Absolutely.
What's the prediction for Yuri?
Day? All right,
6
Miami.
innings, 5 strikeouts. So back again with the Nationals and the Marlins lineups, facing Jonah Don, who is the Noah Berger of the Washington Nationals, 1-9, a 6 ERA, going up against Eddie Cabrera, who just had a masterclass performance at Coors Field of all places. So starting off with Eli, just what really sticks out to you between these lineups in Miami and Washington? Because Washington has been under the entire year, and Miami seemingly going to play a flat game according to Don Mattingly. So it was just what really sticks out to you between these two very underwhelming lineups?
Well, Nelson Cruz, he was washed up the last time these teams met a few weeks ago. People were writing him off. He looked terrible. And ever since then, he's hitting over 400. He's OPSing like 1,100 over the last couple of weeks. He's back to life, heading into his 42nd birthday. So he makes them better. I mean, there's a reason. The Nationals have one less win than the Marlins do.
Yeah.
I just want people to understand that. We all agree that the Nationals are like a rebuilding, hopeless franchise, and they are one win behind the Marlins at this point. And a big reason why is because Nelson Cruz is kind of carrying them in the middle of that order.
I'll be in more games though.
Yes. I'm slanting it as much as possible to make it sound pretty ugly. It's good. It's good to see him back. I think a lot of just neutral baseball fans appreciate seeing Nelson Cruz raking again. I mean, the counterpoint on the Marlins is Garrett Cooper is just as hot over that same amount of time. And they have locked into this nice thing with him in the number 2 spot. If Jazz is who we think Jazz could be in the leadoff spot, then that's a great start to the order. Everybody else kind of beyond that is a big question mark, honestly. But Cooper has been amazingly consistent. He's been using the whole field. He hasn't been obsessed with pulling the ball, and it's given him just amazing results. He's been an on-base machine. He's hitting 300 for the first time in his career. He's if this team heads into this direction we think the team is heading in, then he'd be a very interesting sell high candidate at the trade deadline. That's the conversation for another day.
Yeah, Isaac, for you in this lineup for Miami, what does this lineup have to do to take out Joe Adon? Do they just have to play this very competent? Just what does some of these players have to do to really strike out a win against Nationals tonight?
Just to be patient, man. This is a guy that has trouble finding the strike zone. It starts with Jazz. Like Jazz has to set the tone. If he's going to be that leadoff hitter that everyone was clamoring for him to be, take a walk. This guy will walk you, And then the second biggest thing that comes up to me is Fortes and Eddie. They've really handled each other well. Fortes has handled Cabrera well in the minors, AAA all year. So I like that. He handled his season debut in Colorado as well. But like I said, it starts with just being patient. Avi needs to draw some freaking walks. I don't know if Eli has the amount of walks he's drawn this year. Avi, I think we're still in one hand.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to keep track because he doesn't add to it very often.
Right. So it's just all of that. If they get on base, they draw their fair share of walks. It should be an easy win, but with all the non-baseball stuff going on with this team, it's hard to properly predict. But to me, with this pitcher on the mound and this lackadaisical sort of Washington opponent in offense, it's just you got to score some runs against this pitcher early and put the game out of reach and give Edward a good lead early.
Yeah. With that lineup, I think really the only guys that you really have to worry about are 3 through 5. Obviously, Juan Soto, Nelson Cruz, like Eli mentioned, and then Josh Bell is also having a really great year. And I think those are probably the really only guys to really worry about, especially Juan Soto, who's kind of having not one of the best years, only hitting 230. There are talks of him being traded. Just what does Miami have to do to just stop Juan Soto, especially Eddie Cabrera? Is this his first time going up against Juan Soto? I believe so.
Well, I think they faced in the previous start when Eddie made his debut last year in August against the Nationals. But I think that's the only history between them.
Just keep in mind really quick that this team is coming in very hot, especially Juan Soto. He's finally started leaving the yard a little bit more. He's slugging 677 in his last 8 games. So, Edward's going to have to be careful, especially with, like you mentioned, those 3 to 5 guys. But this team and the best hitter in baseball, they're coming in hot. So just be careful.
It's weird to see a 228 next to Juan Soto name. Huh?
But everything else looks great. It's just
it's still like an 850 OPS, which is kind of soft for him. But also, Yadiel Hernandez, he will always murder us. I don't care who he is, where he is. Yadiel Hernandez will kill us. And my other observation is we just keep throwing Avisail Garcia middle of our order, huh? I mean, he's going to stay there, right? Just batting just at 5th. Cool.
Yep.
I mean, like 4 extra base hits or whatever in the whole year, and he's staying at 5th. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, just the way that the lineup is constructed, Aggie, Avi, Jesus, all who are prone. Aguilar a little bit less than the other two, but they're all prone to strikeouts. I would have had Birdie in there slotted to sort of just spread out the swing and miss game of this lineup, but that's not the way I would have constructed it. But I'm not the manager.
The one other thing that Alex pointed out on Twitter is that, again, it's Nick Fortes catching Edward Cabrera, which they worked together plenty in the minors, going all the way back to 2018, if believe it or not. They even had a game together way back in low A, and they've been working a little bit together both in regular season and in spring training since then. So I imagine that if he pitches well again tonight, that is going to become a thing, knowing that Stallings catching Sandy and Pablo has been a thing, and that's kind of why they separated. That's one of the reasons I think why they separated them in the rotation by like a day in between, to be sure that there's no day game after night game hijinks, that every time that they pitch, I think we're going to see Stallings continue to catch them. And I guess this is one reason why Fortes is up over Peyton Henry. In addition to the fact that Fortes is still raking, in his small sample in the big leagues, he's one of the best hitters. We'll see how long that lasts. So I think that's fair with Fortes, even though it's a tiny sample. I like what I see with him as an offensive player from that position.
Handled him so well that last time. I mean, catching 96-mile-an-hour changeups, he knows him clearly. So, it's probably, like you said, I guess kind of like a personal catcher situation. But why not? Why wouldn't they do that? This guy knows him. He handles him well, calls him well, and he's hitting. So let it happen, let it ride. I say I like that. I think that's a good move. One of the few aspects of this lineup I really like. I agree with you, Daniel. Avisail Garcia hitting fifth is a sham. Mattingly talks about the team coming out flat. Well, he came out flat making a lineup. So, I guess that's par for the course though lately, or this year as a whole. So, yeah, I know he's doing the best with what he's got, but demote that guy. That should have happened a long time ago.
Well, so I'm guessing no Astudillo tonight or Luke Williams, Alex. Those are your favorite players right now, or?
You really want to get me started, Daniel? Come on, bro.
Talking about pitching, I wanted to go a little bit and talking about the relief pitching from Miami and just what a mess it has been really over the last couple, I would say month or so for Miami. Just what really sticks out to you guys, and if Anthony Bass, is he probably right now the best reliever in this Marlins bullpen, or is there maybe another guy that really stands out to you? We'll go with Nick.
No, Anthony Bass is like the seventh inning Mariano Rivera for us here. So he's been great in the seventh inning for us. I think Tanner Scott's looked good in his last couple outings he's had, but I mean, overall as a bullpen, Steven Okert, he's been decent for us too. But as a whole, obviously Cole Sulser is the victim of two walk-offs. And he was expected to be kind of a big role for us in the back end of the pen. With Bender going down too, it's been kind of rough for the bullpen so far. I mean, again, I would say definitely our best relievers. Probably, I would say either at the moment Tanner Scott or Anthony Bass. Again, if you keep Anthony Bass in the seventh inning, he will not let him run. I don't know what it is with the seventh inning, but he is great in the seventh inning. I like him in that role he has. But again, this team just needs a closer. It's needed very badly. But no, Anthony Bass or Tanner Scott, again, Tanner Scott's been really good too. So he's been, kind of up there for me.
Bronx Bombers crew, surprisingly, does not like you slandering Mariano Rivera. Anybody in the same discussion as him, though we appreciate
the seventh inning, it was phrased.
Yeah, we appreciate that guy listening. If you haven't noticed,
exaggeration.
Tanner Scott has been pitching in the ninth inning his last several appearances. One of them a safe situation, one of them a non-safe situation. That is, even though Mattingly doesn't come out and say it until that guy actually picks up a few saves in a row, that seems to be the current flavor of the week in terms of who is actually going to get those save opportunities in the near-term future. We don't have to think about that in most games because they never have save opportunities. But in this particular series going to the Nationals, if people want to know what to expect the next few days, I think it's very likely that Tanner Scott would be the guy, especially if Juan Soto is coming up in one of those situations, lefty on lefty. He's probably going to get a shot for the time being. It's been a roller coaster with Tanner Scott. I know Alex in particular loved the acquisition and the upside there. He looked good early on. Then he had some hiccups. It's been more good than bad with him overall. So even though Anthony Bass, I agree, the most valuable reliever they've had overall, they're going to need more than one good reliever in order to have any sort of consistency from this pen.
Yeah, I want to bring up what Sean Grant just wrote. Do you think Trevor Rosenthal is at least an option to even think about for Miami? Or in attendance for one of his pitching, I believe, just performances or just getting ready. Just what do you guys think about Trevor Rosenthal as just an option for Miami?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, whoever you can bring right now, just bring him in. I mean, he's a wild card right now. We won't know until we know, but I mean, not much to lose. I mean, a roster spot like Tommy Nance, I mean, it's fine. Just bring Rosenthal, see what he can do. Maybe he's same as he pitched in 2020, I believe, which was amazing. Maybe he's close to that. If he's close to that, that's our closer easily. So, of course, yes. I mean, bring him in.
There's another interesting wrinkle to mention in the bullpen, and I've mentioned this a couple times, and Eli, we've talked about it. They are at risk this offseason. If they don't call this guy up, they're going to lose him. Or he can elect free agency. I'm not saying he might not. He can, and I think he probably would. And they put him in the bullpen. They now have him in AAA again. They called him up today, actually. He's a reliever. This guy has closer stuff. I think if this guy has a couple of good games, maybe a handful of good games, a good week, maybe even a good 2 weeks, this guy needs a shot, and that's George Soriano. That guy, they should definitely give him a shot. Maybe not immediately as a closer. Obviously, you're talking about two very different players with George Soriano and Trevor Rosenthal, so different conversations had there. But give that guy a chance. He has a filthy slider. He's up to 97. He can throw a changeup too. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you give that guy a chance? And like I said, if they don't call him up, he's going to walk at the end of the season for nothing. So they need bullpen help. It's staring them in the face, and I think he will continue to do very well at AAA. So that guy needs a shot. If he has a good week against, I think they're playing Birmingham. If he has a good week, I want to see him up ASAP.
Good week, yeah. You're really you're on the edge there.
Why not? Why? With Blyer struggling, Nance is fodder. Like what's the reason not to call him up? Like they call him up.
It's still very new to him being a reliever because he'd been working as a starter for most of his professional career. The most important thing, the last thing they always do with developing relievers is letting them pitch on back-to-back days. That's one thing that you need to do in the big leagues to have any sort of significant value. And I'm sure without even looking that he hasn't been in that position yet. So I think once he clears kind of that hurdle, there's different situations that I think they want to check the boxes. I totally agree on the stuff. And in terms of how it could contribute, it's exciting. We were waiting kind of for more of these guys to emerge this year from the system. As much as the starting pitching depth looks good when guys are healthy, it was kind of a short list of really potential impact relievers that could come up and contribute immediately. And he's a guy that definitely sticks out to me too. And he's a favorite of Kevin as well. Kevin's not here to discuss George Soriano, but he was on the George Soriano hype train pretty early.
Yeah, I want to actually ask Alex and Daniel just really updates from the farm, because I know a couple games ago we had that really crazy game from the Wahoos and 4 back-to-back hit by pitches. Just what is your take on the Wahoos this year and just really guys that Marlins fans should be focusing on that maybe their name isn't really being thrown out in the mainstream public?
You want to go?
That's
Alex?
a fun team. That's a fun team.
Yeah.
They find ways to win. Obviously. So yeah, 4 straight hit by pitches is a new way to win a game. But I think the Troy hit in that inning probably could have been ruled a hit rather than an error, but they gave the guy an error, so they didn't get a hit in that inning and scored 2 runs and walked it off on 4 straight hit by pitches, which was insane. But yeah, that team finds ways to win, and it's just a fun team. I know. I'll let Daniel go because I know Dan's favorite time of year just happened with the International League starting and FCL. So I'm sure he has a lot of guys down there that he's looking at. But yeah, Wahoos are a fun team, man. I have a ton of fun watching that team. When I was sick, that was like the prime time of my day. Was watching them help me feel better. So thanks to the Wahoos for that. But yeah, they're fun. And like there's a bunch of talent on that team. There's some guys that are underperforming on that team. Victor, who was unfortunately hurt. They have a couple other guys who have pretty low WRC pluses, but like I said, they get contributions pretty much all over their lineup, and it's really not supposed to be like that it is supposed to be like that at any level, but it's really not about winning at the minor league level. But when you're winning, you're having fun, and that team definitely has a lot of fun. And in turn, like I said, they're a lot of fun to watch. So if you guys don't watch that team, you should. But anyways, I'll let Daniel go ahead on his guys.
Sure. Regarding your specific question, guys to really follow, Johnston is like on a crazy tear. I mean, it's nobody else in the minors is hitting like he is the last 10 days or so. It's crazy. That team as well, Paul McIntosh, the catcher, who started out really well, struggled for a bit, but is back now. I think his OPS is over 900 again. I mean, he keeps hitting, and he's not a bad catcher. I don't think he'll stick at catcher, but he's not a bad catcher either. And what I really like about this Pensacola team is the bullpen. I think we'll be able to see several of these guys, in the major soon. Simpson has struggled a little bit, but his stuff is nasty from the left. You got Jeffrey Yan, you got Maldonado, you got Nardi, who went to the Shrimp a couple weeks ago. So bullpen is really good in the minors. In terms of hot players, I mean, you guys know AAA, Gerard. He's my main guy there. LeBlanc keeps hitting. Burdick and Lewin have been kind of, over 800 OPSs, but not amazing, not as amazing as everybody expected, but still solid. And yeah, I mean, Skycarp, Morissette, I know is Isaac's guy. He's looking really good, and not just hitting the ball, but hitting it hard. So he's someone to follow. Several guys there, and yeah, as Alex mentioned, FCL and DSL started, and I'm just happy looking at those box scores, following all those kids. Just exciting for them. A lot of names. I mean, I wouldn't even get to them, but a lot of names to follow. DSL. There's a two-way player called Darwin Hernandez, I believe. He didn't do well today, but first start. He can play the outfield. He can hit hard. Like, he has power, and he throws hard. So, I mean, let's see what happens with the kid. But Peguero, center fielder, Santiago Suarez is someone I've heard a lot from, a starter. We'll keep talking about these guys, but it's exciting.
When can we expect Ronald Hernandez in the major leagues?
Ronald Hernandez, 4 years.
Two guys to call out really quick because Daniel didn't mention them. Jupiter, Ian Lewis has come up. He started in extended and came up and has only hit the ball. He's hitting 338, incredible. And then a guy that had a fantastic month last month is Brady Allen. So two guys there at Jupiter to really look at as guys that really have stood out to me at one of the lowest levels. So yeah, tons of stuff to watch.
I will say there's nothing quite like a DSL box score. It's a unique sensation. You win 10-8 and score 10 runs on 4 hits and commit 6 errors. It's great because you need to realize how young these players are in the DSL. Almost all of them are teenagers, every single one of them. And most of them are 17, sometimes even 16 if it's their very first year. That's a unique delight to look at those box scores. And thankfully in the 21st century that we're in, we can actually get some footage of those guys down there.
You got that Capé. You got footage of that Capé home run on First Prospects, which was cool. But yeah, those are fun. Those are fun scores to follow. Now we have not only 1 but 2, and then you got FCL as well, so it's really 3. So yeah, good stuff to follow for sure. A lot of stuff to unpack in those box scores, but they're fun.
Also, just 2 players I really want to talk about really quick. We could probably give another update on them. Probably 2 of the most polarizing players right now. J.J. Bleday and Khalil Watson. Just what are you guys seeing from them, and just how they've been performing so far this minor league season? Excuse me. We'll go with Alex. Just what do you see from like Bleday and Watson as of late?
Yeah, Watson's actually not playing tonight. I don't know what's going on there. He's
yesterday, or no, they were off yesterday. Sorry.
Been pretty much, he's been pretty much a mainstay. I'm not going to suspect injury or anything, but not playing tonight for whatever reason. But his strikeout rate is ridiculously high. Not a ton of production lately, honestly. So he's going to go through that. This is a young kid. He's high schooler coming out of a draft. So it's going to happen. And I've said this to you guys before. It's all about how this guy handles failure. So I will say this to you guys, and Daniel, I'll say this to you. the Hammerheads have a very, very, very no-nonsense approach. This guy has been pulled out of games many, many times already this year for slamming his bat, for throwing his bat, for arguing with an umpire, for standing in the box too long after a third strike call. He's got an attitude, and I think we all knew that was going to be a thing with this player. And the Hammerheads are trying to curtail it immediately. And it's not only him; they've done it with other players as well, but he's been the main victim of it. So again, it's a no-nonsense approach from Espada and that entire coaching staff, and probably the organization having a hand in that as well. So yeah, they've done it with other players too. Daniel knows this as well. They have a very, very strict no-nonsense approach with these lower-level kids. So it's shape up, or you're going to be sitting on the bench. So that's been the case with him. Needs to bring the strikeout rate down. Bat to ball needs to improve. It's been mostly pull from him. A little bit of the other way, but not too much that I've seen from Khalil. So yeah, lots of cleanup, but young kid. Blade, low average, good on base, like what he's always been, right? So he's on again, off again. I think that's the kind of player he's going to be at the major league level. I don't think this is going to be a guy that goes on a 30-game hitting streak. I don't think this is a guy that's going to hit, under 250. I think he's going to be all right. I think he's decent. Is he that superstar 300 hitter, 20-plus home runs, 20-plus stolen bases? Probably not. But he can definitely be decent in the corners and can fake it in center field. So definitely has room to be a major league starter.
4th overall pick. Obviously, if you come with that tag, it's a problem. But there has been improvement. AA last year versus AAA this year. I mean, he finished with a 97 WRC plus 2021. He has a 116, which is pretty good at AAA. But K rate is up considerably, 8%, around 8%. But the OBP is way up, and the slugging is up. So it's not as bad as a lot of people, hey, turning corners. I like to laugh at the guy, but he is doing better. I mean, he has a few more couple good weeks, and we're talking about a really good season. So I would like to see that K rate come down.
I think the K rate is a product of him being a lot more aggressive early in counts. A lot of his production has come on like first, second pitch of at bats. He can work the count too, though. It's just in terms of he needs to find a little bit of balance. So I think that's probably why his K rate's up, is because he's attacking a little bit more early. But like I said, I think this is probably a career 250-ish hitter with a much better on-base percentage that can find gaps in the occasional fence. So I think he's fine. Definitely has room to be a major league starter for sure.
I have no doubt that he works counts well and he will always get on base. But I know he's improved number-wise. But I think AA is a much tougher competition, especially pitching, than it will be in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville also has that really hitter-friendly outfield line for him. So I think you can sort of see why those slugging numbers would go up a little bit. Everything to me is increased strikeout rate, like you mentioned, Daniel. Everything to me is pointing at I don't know if he's a major league starter. It's looking more like a 4th outfield type player. Unfortunately, it's not what Miami had in mind when they gave him $6 million, number 4 overall in 2019. Yeah. But I would have liked to see him repeat AA and called up to AAA in the middle of this year, but they didn't do it, and I don't think he's doing much better. I don't think we see him this year either in the major leagues.
One more note. You want to know an extremely weird stat for him? Split. Yeah. Home games, 494 OPS with 1 home run.
Yeah.
Away games, 983 OPS with the rest 9 home runs.
So weird because Jacksonville's easy to hit. Like it's not hard to hit there.
That is a really weird one.
Yeah, go on.
I hate to distract you with the comment. I just wanted. This has been an issue for us for a couple months now with Naked HD XYZ invading our chat. So I wanted to just put the names here just so I remember, and I can clip this and take whatever action I can through YouTube to permanently block them, because otherwise I have to manually block them from the chat every single show. And so hopefully by the next stream they will no longer be a part of us. They are not part of the staff.
Hey guys, there was
Rodriguez is crying.
Guys, there was one prospect I want to talk about in AAA that I'm really impressed with is Gerard Encarnacion. Recently got called up and he's hitting 335 he's got 13 home runs on the year in AAA. He's been down in our farm system for about 5-6 years, and I think he finally is getting the recognition he needs. And I think he's getting closer and closer to being ready to be on the major league roster. And I could potentially see him as a 4th outfielder for us as well on the team. I think he needs to I think he needs to make the jump. I think he can be a really solid player for us. So I should bring him up here. I think he definitely, recognition needs it. So.
Yeah,
I'd call him a third outfielder.
For a while. He's been on the 40-man for a while. They're just so clustered at that first base DH spot that, unfortunately, with their lack of moves this offseason with Aguilar and Cooper, and there's just nowhere to put him. By the way, how is he so bad, JJ Bleday? How is he so bad at home? 116, he's slugging 203.
It's weird.
What the heck?
It's so weird, man. It really is. Regarding Gerard, if he comes up, I hope it's to come up to play every day to replace Avisail for a while. I don't know, but don't bring him up to keep him on the bench.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
I think there's enough, and I agree with you. I don't want to see him sitting on the bench, but I think there's enough. I mean, maybe not with Aggie and Cooper both still around, but there would be enough. I would like to think there would be enough room to get him into games with the DH, right field, or first base. But like you said, he's just so blocked because they didn't do much with these positions in the offseason, and then they signed outfielders on top of it. So and they have to start them, because Avisail Garcia. So it's if you called him up now, he wouldn't have a ton of playing time. I don't think. I think after the deadline, they get they trade one of those first basemen, whether it's Cooper or Aguilar. Hopefully Aguilar, I like what Cooper has been doing. He's been playing pretty well. So I think in that scenario he would be the guy up. But then also you got Lewin Diaz, so you got to juggle that ball too. Lewin, you got the defense, and Gerard, you got the offense. So which one do they go with? But yeah, I think you're right. If Gerard keeps playing like this, he forces the hand, then you got to have him up. But yeah, definitely you're right, Nick. After the deadline, get rid of one of those first basemen. He's definitely here. Sure.
Yeah, I was thinking again. I want to see Lewin Diaz get everyday playing role here for us, because I think he's been mashing in AAA. There's only so much he can do down there. He's ready to get called up. I know they had him up here for one game. They sent him right back down to Jacksonville. I think he needs a fair shot on the lineup this year. I think we trade either Aguilar or Cooper. Would rather Aguilar get traded because Cooper's been swinging him insane bad as of late. I think we get some value back for Aguilar again. It's not gonna be crazy, but I would like to see Lewin Diaz get an everyday role and potentially get Gerard somewhere either as a DH or somewhere in the outfield. But again, he's getting blocked by Avisail out in right field. I wish we can trade him. I would love to trade him, but I don't think anybody's going to buy it, especially on that contract. But no, I definitely want to get Gerard on the major league club, and I want him to start. Fourth outfield. I don't want him to sit on the bench, especially with the numbers he's been putting up. So I'm a big Gerard fan. I think he needs to get a chance with the roster.
Yeah, and with that, it'll take us to prediction time, predicting this series between the Marlins and the Washington Nationals. A 3-game set in the middle of the week. We'll start with Isaac as we have our predictions here. Eli in first place. I'm tied with Alex for second, and then Kevin. And then all the way at the bottom is I believe that's Isaac.
Yeah. Yeah, as Fish Stripes noted, I was the one guy who didn't get any points in the last series predictions. Let's just try it again. Marlins lose 2 out of 3. The one game they win is the Sandy start tomorrow. I'll be covering tomorrow's ball game. Hopefully there'll be a better atmosphere from the player standpoint. And I think the MVP will be Sandy himself. I think he has a great start, and that's what I'll go with.
Alex, MVP and your prediction.
So you casually forgot to mention that you're tied with me because I missed the last 2 prediction shows because I was sick. So, man, pick it up, guys. Isaac, especially you, pick it up, man. Let's go. Anyways, no. Something tells me they may come out a little flat tonight. So I'll say they lose tonight. Edward maybe take a step back. Unfortunately, he was really good last start. So maybe take a step back. Soto hits velocity pretty well. So, I'll say they lose tonight and they lose the third game and win the second one. So, yeah, I'll agree with Isaac and say they win 1 of 3, and Mattingly has proven right that they'll have a flat series against this lowly Nationals team. And then MVP, we talked about him before. Older guy was doing very, very badly the last time we talked about playing the Nationals, and has picked it up. I'll go with Cruz, Nelson Cruz, MVP.
Wow. Okay. Eli, what do you say?
I have the Marlins winning the series, going 2-1. It's you guys need to remember how awful the Nationals are, and also how painful even one loss in the series is going to feel, because this, especially with the way that the pitching lines up, for the series, it would be a catastrophe if the Marlins actually lost it. Maybe they will. I have them winning 2 out of 3. Let me double check. Oh yeah, Miguel Rojas is my MVP. He's going to doesn't even face any lefties in this series, but I think he's going to hit a home run off a righty for a change, and he's going to be pretty good.
Daniel, so for our predictions, it's prediction for the series, and then your MVP of the series. It could be from any team, pitcher or hitter.
Sure, man. 2-1 Marlins. I say we lose the Sandy Alcantara game. He's gonna pitch 7-8 innings of like no run ball, and we'll lose that one, as we love to. And the MVP is Jesus Sanchez. We got 3 righties going against him.
All right, Nick, your MVP of the series and your prediction.
Yeah, so Marlins lose tonight. I got them winning tomorrow for Sandy, and then I got them winning the next game against Trevor. I know he's been struggling. My MVP of the series is going to be Jazz. I think he turns it around. I think this is a big series for him going against Washington with the righties. Pressure's on clubhouse. I think Jazz is going to step up and he's going to have a good series.
And before we let everyone go, my prediction, I have 2 out of 3. I think Marlins are going to take 3. They're going to lose tonight. Like Alex said, they're going to fall a little flat. And then for my MVP, I'm going to go to Garrett Cooper, mashing over 300. I think he's going to have 2 home runs this series. He's going to put the team almost on his back hitting-wise for this series. So that really does it for predictions. For Daniel, for Isaac, for Alex, for Eli, for Nick, this is Fish Stripes Live presented by Loop. And always go fish.
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.